Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Yes, I admit your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, on Instagram Movies TV Mad X. Have you ever wondered why they started leaking out that Jason Momoa may be playing Lobo in James Gunn's brand new DC universe? Well, I will tell the not so wise. It's because when they finally do have the gumption to tell you that he won't be playing Aquaman anymore, you won't create a row as you did, as we did when we found out Henry Cavill would no longer be playing Superman. But there's a very, very awkward situation coming. What if Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is actually very, very successful? It's a situation I'm fighting for, and James Wan as well, and he's already shot out lots of truth bombs. It's actually hilarious, but this is the kind of people you're dealing with. James Gunn is backed by the people who forced Snyder out of the DCEU, who shelved Batgirl. Oh, and by the way, that shelved James Wan's The Trench movie, that he's now revealed, very interestingly, was actually a secret Black Manta movie. That's right, the Trench movie was going to be a secret Black Manta movie. What DC fan wouldn't want that? Unless you're effing insane. A Black Manta movie. We were going to get a Black Manta movie. And they shelved it. The people backing James Gunn. So this is why they leaked out that Jason could be playing Lobo, and they had Jason oozing and saying, oh, this is the character of my dreams. I've always wanted to play this character. I'm happy for you, Jason. But Jason still wants to play Aquaman. But James Gunn doesn't want Jason playing Aquaman, and this is the very reason he's not promoting Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, why Gunn wants this movie to fail. I keep on telling you people, this is not the same situation as Shazam! Fury of the Gods or Blue Beetle or the Flash movie. This movie was made by a proper, real director. Before you attempt to sink this movie, you need to listen to the king, to the Don, who actually knows what he's bloody talking about. But it's not just James Wan who's angry with Gunn, DC Studios and WB. Tim Burton isn't happy either. No, I don't have regrets. I will say this, when you work that long on a project and it doesn't happen, it affects you for the rest of your life. He's talking about if he has any regrets about Superman Lives. It affects you for the rest of your life because you get passionate about things, and each thing is an unknown journey, and it wasn't there yet. But it's one of those experiences that never leaves you. A little bit. But also it goes into another AI thing. That this is why I think I'm over it with the studio. They run, take what you did, Batman or whatever, and culturally misappropriate it or whatever you want to call it. Even though you're a slave of Disney or Warner Brothers, they can do whatever they want. So in my latter years of life, I'm in quite revolt against all of this. So that's very, very interesting, isn't it, everyone? Basically, what is Tim Burton talking about here? Well, basically, when he talks about the misrepresentation of what he did, he's talking about Michael Keaton's Batman in the Flash movie, the AI Nicolas Cage Superman, which we were all excited about. I kind of liked seeing it, but I don't blame him for being angry because what film and entertainment has become is just nostalgia. Everything now is nostalgia bait. What should we do with this film? Oh, fuck it. We'll just bring an old actor in. It'll be fine, whether it's Hayden Christensen in Ahsoka. People saying, oh my God, this is the best Star Wars ever. Do you understand what Star Wars is? A romantic adventure inspired by the old, the old kind of chapterized sagas in black and white played in cinemas back in the 1930s. Romantic adventures. Ahsoka isn't a romantic adventure because straight romance isn't allowed anymore. You know, it's interesting what's happened to our industry, isn't it? And so you see all of this, and you see what's going on, and you see the divide within the DC fandom, and you see directors coming out now and being very direct and taking their shots against these studios. Even James Wan saying it's silly to have a tease of a trailer. So Wan really isn't keeping quiet. He isn't keeping quiet about Gunn, about the ridiculous situation of what he's in. You see, James Wan finds himself in the middle of a situation that's not his fault. A relationship, a celebrity relationship, breaks down in front of the whole world to see. And all of a sudden, a sequel that shouldn't be judged on Amber or Johnny's relationship is in the middle of this situation. Some people are disgusted that she was barely in the trailer. Some people are happy she was barely in the trailer. Right? It's all about Amber Heard, right? And nobody. I told you this before. I don't care about Amber being in this movie. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't keep me up at night. Because at the end of the day, you should be judging a movie on its merits. And this is what I'm saying. James Wan handled that situation as well as he could. Under pressure for something that's not even his fault. Under pressure because Gunn fired Henry Cavill. Because WB fired Zack Snyder. These are things that have nothing to do with James Wan. But he's paying the price for it. And this is the big problem, everyone. He even had a movie shelved himself. A Black Manta movie. Wow. I would have loved to have seen that. And I'm sure you would have too. But unfortunately, WB didn't want you to see a Black Manta movie. But why? Could it be they didn't want a black man leading a film? No, never, Mick. Not the compassionate and kind entertainment industry. Not the same people calling Drew Barrymore a scab because she wanted to get back to work and she wanted to take her production team, who are not wealthy, back to work because her deal with the union isn't the bloody same, but they're calling her a scab. This is how disgusting this industry is. And the public don't really understand what Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is. This is the thing that's kind of, blowing my head. It's blowing my mind, genuinely. Some of you lot saw the trailer and saw Thor Love and Thunder. The film is nothing to do with that. You're saying, why does Aquaman, a man who works underwater, have to dry his clothes? Well, would you wear wet clothes? How do you know what it's like when he's underwater? Maybe he can't really feel the water. Maybe his clothes don't feel wet underwater. Maybe they're that protected. They are special clothes after all. I don't know. He's drying his clothes because he doesn't want to put on wet clothes when he first puts them on. What's not to understand? Let me tell you the problem from the haters' point of view who want to sink this movie. They saw an epic trailer and they got intimidated by it. So as usual, these people have to find a little thing to call out a movie over. And it's sad. I understand that this movie has an uphill struggle to be successful. But you don't understand. This is potentially the last movie in the DCEU. But what if it's successful? Will it still be the last movie in the DCEU? What does that mean for James Gunn? We spoke earlier about Gunn not promoting this movie because he doesn't want Momoa to keep playing Aquaman. But why? Well, again, I think it's slightly racist, a bit like firing Henry Cavill because he's British and not American. What did he do? Cast a good old American actor who looks exactly the same as Cavill, just around 10 years younger. Which is not a big age gap, by the way. Cavill actually looks fucking 30. Cavill looks amazing. Cavill don't look 40 anyway. It's ridiculous. But anyway, Gunn wants an Aquaman who's blonde and white, an empty shell. There's only one Aquaman for me. It's Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa is special as Arthur Curry because of what Jason has inside of him, the uniqueness. The man's full of personality and soul. Why would you want to lose that as Aquaman and bring in someone else? Because, and you know when we first saw him as Aquaman in BVS and in Justice League, whether it's Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League, then his film, there was never any talk about him being an indigenous actor and how refreshing it was that someone was playing him. I don't agree with cultural swaps. But again, if it works, it works. We were talking about Leslie Grace's Batgirl. It works. I've seen that movie twice now. She is perfect as Batgirl. Jason Momoa is the perfect Arthur Curry. You can't take that away and think it's still going to work. Jason Momoa is popular as the character. His Aquaman movie made $1 billion. Obviously Justice League was a flop, but Zack Snyder's Justice League was very popular. Jason Momoa is the right guy to keep playing Aquaman. But James Gunn doesn't want this. David Zaslav doesn't want this. And this is why they leaked the Lobo shit. Yes, he will be a cool Lobo. I'd like to see that. But why can't he play both characters? It's called acting after all. And this is the problem. James Gunn is a PR disaster. You do understand that, don't you? He's a PR disaster. And this is the issue here. And have you noticed, I said this the other day, he doesn't barely come onto Twitter. He doesn't say anything anymore. He's on Instagram, he's on Threads, but he's scared of Twitter. What's the point of him? If he's not a positive force in public relations, how can he carry on in his position? It's going to be very, very difficult. It's quite ironic. James Gunn finds himself in exactly the same situation as Walter Hamada did once Ray Fisher outed him. His position is untenable because he can't speak out. Walter was exposed for saying to Ray that he should throw Joss Whedon under the bus. And I know that Joss himself is very grateful for Ray, even though they fell out and didn't get on, for being so fair about it and not throwing him under the bus. When that was exposed by Ray, Walter's position became untenable. He couldn't come out. He couldn't speak out. He couldn't promote the stuff. We first saw him after a while because he's not really a showy person, Walter, but we saw him in the first DC Fandom. He spoke well. It was exciting to hear from him. Then we never heard from him again, and eventually they fired him when Zaslav came in. And we thought that was part of a brave new future. Little did we know they were just going to continue doing the same shit with a new face. Basically, it's a different broom sweeping the same shit. That's what bringing in James Gunn is. But James Gunn finds himself in exactly the same situation as Walter Hamada, being exposed for those alleged Facebook comments. Now, he claims that someone hacked his Facebook. It's up to you if you believe him or not. I said when I read out what the message was from Facebook that I'll give James the benefit of the doubt. And unless more evidence comes out, I'm not going to say a dicky bird about that. But isn't it interesting, since he posted that about being hacked, he has said very little else. He's not really speaking publicly. It really is kind of the behaviour of a guilty man. And fans are unearthing historical tweets and historical internet stuff all the time on Gunn. So his position is untenable, whether he's the right man to run DC or not. And I now believe that he's not. He's totally the wrong man. We need someone to run DC. But the problem is, whoever they get, the people who drove Zack out, the people who refused to put Snyder Cut footage in that DC documentary and put Justice League footage in there, instead are still there. The people who shelved Batgirl, the people who shelved the Trench movie, they're still there. So even if Gunn goes, they will bring someone just as disastrous. It's the people behind the scenes at Warner Brothers that have to go, because Toby Emmerich hasn't gone. Many of the figures that were there back in 2016, 2017 are still there. And they're still deciding to recycle the Snyderverse, pretending that DC Universe is this brand new reboot, when it's not. It's actually the continuation and the recycled DCEU. But they're knocking out the E and calling it DCU, and they think you're fucking stupid. That's the thing here. They think you are stupid. Are you stupid? Can you see what I'm telling you? Can you see what I see? Can you see through the bullshit of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Can you see that that film isn't the problem? And if that film fails, then Gunn will have legitimacy to replace Jason Momoa as Aquaman. So now you have to ask yourself a very important fucking question. What's more important to you? Making fun of Aquaman because it has a couple of gags, because apparently, according to some Snyderverse fans, it's illegal to have bloody bright colours and gags in CBMs now. I know Zack doesn't have many gags in his movies. I know his colour palettes are darker, and that's great. I love Zack, I love his style, I love his DC movies. But just because Zack does it, it doesn't mean everybody else has to do it. No, Zack Snyder isn't the blueprint. He's a unique individual director. It doesn't mean everyone has to make movies like him. There's nothing wrong with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom having some good gags. Making a film in bright colours, that's fine. It's the characters, it's the development, it's what happens in the movie that's important. Do you care about Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry and Aquaman? Yes, you do. You know you do. You know this trailer looks peak. It looks exciting. It had a couple of gags, but it had a lot of dramatic, compelling moments as well. Because Black Manta is the real deal in this movie. Orm is the real deal in this movie. Don't be fooled what you've seen of Orm in this movie. There's things going on that you don't know about. When you see the middle trailer, they're going to reveal a little bit more, and you're going to be a little bit more surprised about what goes on in this film. What you saw in the first trailer is very, very deceptive. There are big twists in this movie, and it has a very, very compelling final third. You won't want to miss it, and you will want a third Aquaman movie. And this is the key component now, everyone. What do you want? Do you want Jason Momoa as Lobo, just cameoing now and again in DC Universe movies? Or do you want him to continue as Arthur Curry? These are the things you have to decide on. Some of you would like him to not play Arthur Curry so he could be saved when the Snyderverse is restored, which is very unlikely. I know what you're thinking is, I don't want to see anyone else play Aquaman but Jason Momoa. Because Jason Momoa is a special guy, and he deserves to keep playing Aquaman. But James Gunn and David Zaslav and the people who took away Snyder's arc, Batgirl and everything else, want him replaced as Aquaman. And as I say, if you don't support this movie, he will be replaced as Aquaman. And be very careful what you decide here. You need to be paying attention. The problem is I don't have the light on me to get the attention to spread my message, which is the truth. If you do not support this movie, Jason Momoa will never play Aquaman again. And to me, that's very, very sad. It's something I don't want. And I want James Wan to make more Aquaman content. I want James Wan to make more DC content. Because I've told you before, I like the largeness of Wan's Aquaman movies. I like the largeness of the Snyderverse. I don't want little movies. I don't want little shitty, underwhelming DC movies. And Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom are not small shitty movies. They're both great movies. And you're robbing yourself of something great because your belief is that Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is part of James Gunn. Is part of what he wants. Well, he's not even promoting the movie. He wants this movie to fail because he wants to recast Aquaman. Wouldn't it be ironic if Jason doesn't play Aquaman anymore, but Ezra Miller plays The Flash? Gal Gadot plays Wonder Woman. that what you want? Because you may not get your own way. They may not replace all of them. We don't know. James Gunn said he was going to replace what didn't work and keep what did. Well, guess what, James? Open your ears, open your eyes. Aquaman made $1 billion. People love Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry. And people will question you, if you're a bigot, for replacing this indigenous actor as Arthur Curry. A version of the character, this is the first version that's made this character have respect. This character was a freaking joke before Zack Snyder and James Wan and Jason Momoa got hold of it. Think about that for a minute. He becomes a joke again. Because Gunn will make him a joke again. That's what he will do. Lots of people are angry with WB, including Tim Burton, including James Wan. There's been a big fallout between James Wan and James Gunn as well. You won't believe the changes he wanted him to make to his movie. You'll be glad to hear that James Wan won that arm wrestle. As he said, it's my movie. It's his movie. James Wan is a good guy, but he's under pressure from no fault of his own. For different reasons, the Henry Cavill firing, what happened to Snyder, and the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation. As I said, a silly relationship bust-up should have nothing to do with a movie. It's not WB's fault that, you've decided to either take Johnny or Amber's side. It's not James Wan's fault, that you want to take a side and boycott a movie because of a fucking relationship. Do you realise how dumb that is? We have a huge DC movie. And this is something very important you have to understand as well. If you boycott this movie, we won't ever have big, epic, action-packed, compelling DC movies again. They'll be cheaper and cheaper and smaller and more underwhelming and more underwhelming. Is that what you want? So you really have a big decision here in terms of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Because believe you me, WB have got no money. They would love to make small, cheap, shitty, underwhelming movies. This is the direction we're going in. Movies for children. Now, I agree. Superheroes and comic books were created for children. But they should be for adults as well. You should be able to sit with your nieces, your nephews, your children, and enjoy these movies with them, as we did as kids. That's it. You just have to compromise a little bit. But what James Gunn is going to do, he's going to take any seriousness out of these movies. And of course they're going to copy and paste Superman the movie with Superman Legacy, with some cameos for his new universe. That's the plan. That's what they're going to do. There's no doubt about that. And as I say, someone called me out. You haven't seen the movie yet. How can you say this stuff? Because I don't want to wait and see. I don't want to wait till the damage is done yet again. We believe that Joss Whedon was Zack Snyder's good friend. We allowed Zack to walk away. We didn't think anything of it. It's only till we saw the effing movie we saw what they did. They did it with The Flash, and they're going to do it again with the Gunverse. And you're all sitting there doing nothing about it, thinking that James Wan is the problem, thinking that Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is the problem while you poke fun at that movie. And you're liars. You're liars. It is not. It's not Thor Love and Thunder. It couldn't be the opposite of Thor Love and Thunder. How dare you have no information about a film and try and destroy it and do it down? How dare you? It's not your duty to support a movie. But you come into me, you claim you're big DC fans. You get upset if, as a Snyder fan, you're called, a fake DC fan. That's why Snyder fans do the whole real DC fan thing. Well, surely a real DC fan wouldn't try and sink another DC movie. Especially not this one. As I say, you're underestimating how important this film is, because if you sink this movie, there's no way back. It's James Gunn all the way. And some of you want that. I understand. And that's up to you. We do live in a democracy. I'm just telling you my views. You can all see, James Gunn fans, not James Gunn fans, you can see he's not promoted the trailer. You can see that. You can see he wants to sink this movie, that he wants to replace an indigenous actor as Aquaman, a popular, lovely, talented actor in the role. It's already successful. Why would you change that? Oh, we must be comic book accurate. Why? Why does it have to be accurate? That's not what adaptation means. But everyone's obsessed with comic book accuracy. If you mess with canon, right, and it doesn't work and it's stupid, I agree. You should be angry about it. But Jason Momoa doesn't look the way as Aquaman does in the comics, right? We can see that. But does it work? Do you love Jason Momoa as Aquaman? Yes, you do. It's up to you, as I say. But please, if this movie tanks and flops and Superman Legacy comes out and it's not the movie you hoped it was going to be, just remember, you had a chance to stop this. Because if Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is successful, we get a third movie. The DCEU lives on. Yes, the DCEU lives on. Because if we get a third movie, it's a DCEU movie, it lives on. Oh, they'll say it's part of the DC universe, whatever they want to do, right? Just to save their blushes. If this movie succeeds, it's not what James Gunn wants. And he will get the blame from Zaslav. Because as I say, James Gunn is in the same position Walter Hamada was in when Ray Fisher exposed him. Because you've exposed him, the fans, left, right and centre. That's why he don't come onto Twitter anymore. Like what happened to Hamada. He's going to end up like Hamada. We're almost there. As I say, there's a place for James Gunn making his Suicide Squad movies, whatever he wants to do in DC in a little corner. I said this yesterday. But there's not a place for James Gunn as co-CEO of DC Studios. He's proved he's an incompetent fool in that role. I'm sorry, he's no more effective, even without showing us any content, than Hamada. I think Hamada was actually better in the role. I do. Hamada had some good ideas. And Hamada had more experience in production. Gunn has no experience in film production. But before you say, well, he's in the industry and he makes films, yes, but he's not a producer. He's a writer-director. There's a big difference. Just because you fucking clean the floors in a supermarket, it doesn't mean you know where to order the stock, does it? Do you understand? Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. James Gunn has proven he can't be a co-CEO. He's already alienated a lot of people by removing Cavill, and he wants to replace Jason Momoa as Aquaman, the lead actor in the most successful DCEU movie, $1 billion. Do you think that's wise? Do you think this is the behaviour of a competent CEO? You don't, do you? So as I say, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is a very big moment. While you see the YouTubers, the successful ones, the big ones, the opposite to me then, making fun of this movie, mocking this movie, Amber Heard. Think about that. Don't listen to them. They're not DC fans. They don't care. They just want their channels to keep on being successful, making money and getting views. But we're DC fans. We care about the future of DC. I know you do. I know you're good people. I know you're good fans. And I know you like large, epic, great DC movies. And you want DC to be great again. And it wounds you like it wounds me when people mock our movies. And they flop and they're a joke and they're disgusting. Like the Flash movie, like Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle is a slightly better movie than the Flash movie, to be fair. It was well made, but it was also a very dull, underwhelming movie. And we all know why. Now, we need competent people at Warner Brothers, because it's not just about removing Gunn, it's about removing Zaslav. That guy has to go, but it's not just him. He's not really the core problem. It's the people hiding in plain sight, behind the scenes of WB Pictures, the same people that have been there for so long, making shitty, bad decisions, cancelling movies like Batgirl and the fucking Black Manta movie. Anyone who does that doesn't deserve to be in this industry. we would have seen a James Wan Black Manta movie while we were waiting for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I think that would have helped Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. It builds up the fact that Black Manta gets revenge in Lost Kingdom, doesn't it? But oh no, we can't have anything good. Before you boycott Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, take a long, hard think. Think about the future. What you want from DC going forward.